Welcome everybody to the Scale Up Show. This is Ryan Staley and I am here with Darrian Mikell. Darrian is the co-founder and the CEO of Qualifi, which is a SaaS platform that powers the fastest phone interview experience in the world and helps recruiting teams hire great candidates faster than ever before. Darrian, super happy to have you on the show, man. Excited and welcome.
Thank you so much, Ryan. Happy to be here. In terms of Qualifi, the company that I started, I got to start this with my brother at first, and then we brought in a couple co-founders. But before that, I was at another company called Viral Launch. We were in the e-commerce space. We built software for Amazon sellers. So we helped them launch and grow their businesses, help them rank on first page for whatever product they were trying to sell and get ranking for. And we had a lot of success there. The CEO and founder asked me to join as his employee number one, and I was the VP and mainly focused on operations. And so we went from he and I, and like I said, we grew pretty fast. We went from he and I to over 70 people on the team in about 3 years. And my responsibilities were over finance, all the general legal administrative work, and then also HR and recruiting for about our first 40 hires before we hired a dedicated talent leader. And so what we do now at Qualifi, helping with the recruitment process, is a direct result of the pain points that I was facing when I was kind of managing that process myself at a fast-growing startup. And so the big area for me was phone interviews. That's what we saw for at Qualifi. I just saw how big of a bottleneck they were for me. Like, despite them being 15 to 30 minute, conversations, they were scattered throughout my calendar, kind of interrupted my workflow throughout the day. There was a lot of them. And I was really repetitive, just asking the same questions over and over. So I just felt like there could be a better way for me to, automate and offload that work and make it a little bit more pleasant for me, but also for the candidates and the fact that they are waiting around on me to, set those times up with them and schedule and get back with them. And so that's why we created Qualifi.
So let's take a step back a little bit. So I know your previous position, kind of like how you came when you were the one-man operations department, I think you told me, right?
Yeah, that's basically it.
And so you worked for a bootstrap company and you grew that pretty big. I mean, like, what do you see were the advantages of being at a bootstrap company? And then would love to hear what the biggest challenges were as well.
Yeah, I loved I loved that experience. That was, in a little bit of context, the CEO at the time when we were there, he was 25, I was 27. So we were a young company. This was our first, I'd say real success. We were both entrepreneurs at that time. Like, we were trying stuff. I had like a t-shirt business in college. He was a self-taught programmer and like coded up a bunch of different ideas and projects. But this was the first thing that really started to take off. And so I was happy to be a part of it. I learned a ton about just what a company actually looks like. But the advantages of having a bootstrap company is that this sounds a little arrogant, but like, we didn't really have to answer to anybody except, building what we wanted to for our customers. And we were able to really guide the company in the direction that we thought was best. And that actually kind of shifted towards the end. We were bootstrapped for the majority of my time there, which was about 3 years. And then towards the end of that time, we started to bring on investment because we saw a really big opportunity in the Amazon space. Obviously, it's huge. Like, there's no questioning that. So we really wanted to go after this market, and we were growing really fast. But that definitely changed the dynamics of the company, where our priorities had to go, how we thought about growing the company. And so led to a lot of different hurdles in different ways. And so, but in terms of the advantages, I definitely think it's being more in tune with your customers, or not necessarily more, but the opportunity to really drive the ship how you truly think is best, and not having to be obligated to a lot of other exterior factors that can come about. That's not to say investors are bad, but they definitely bring a different dynamic into the room. And so I think that was one of the fun things about being a part of a bootstrap company.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm smiling right now because I lived that experience. as
Yeah.
well, not as a founder, but as a revenue leader, even as a rep, and then as a revenue leader. And so, kind of where I'm at right now is I want to bootstrap, excuse me, for a while and reevaluate my decisions because same thing, man. It completely changed the dynamic of the company.
Yeah.
And like I've answered to someone my entire career, so I don't want to answer to someone right now.
Yeah.
You know
No,
what I
for sure.
mean?
For sure.
So, and I can see how it would shift your priorities and your focus areas and things along those lines. So that's a great call out on your part. So,
I'd say the other piece too was we were lucky to like really grow revenue at a decent pace, but also it made us be a little bit more conscious of how we were spending money too, because we could only hire and only invest as much as our revenue and net income allowed, and so I think it created a function where we not necessarily were more conservative, but just like potentially more thoughtful on how we spend our money too. So that's another piece.
for creating your company, like what was the problem that you saw at that stage, and then like what did you? Because it's like if you look at like modeling, right? It's belief, it's syntax, and then it's like the actual act, right? So it's
Yeah.
like, what do you believe? What's the order you do it in? And then how do you do it? So let's take that model for you. So what did you have to believe when you were looking at like trying to solve that, not just about the solution, but about you and about the market and everything?
Yeah. I'll say like this was a couple years ago, and obviously I'm still growing as an entrepreneur, but I would say there's things that I was convicted about that that don't necessarily have to be true in order for you to like have an idea that's worth going after. But for me, it was just experiencing this pain point for myself, so that I would be my first customer. I know that's not always the best. Actually, I've heard conflicting arguments around that in terms of starting an idea, because you have to like validate that outside of yourself. But for me, it was like this is a real problem for me. Like I know this is a problem for other people as well, and then this is the other one that doesn't have to be true, but was true for me was that I'm a fan of like I subscribe to Product Hunt. I'm a fan of like researching and finding new tools and solutions, and I couldn't find anything out there that was solving this problem in the way that I envisioned it. And so I was like, it seems like a real unique opportunity for us to go do this and be one of the first people to actually put a solution out in the market. And so that same notion still drives us in a way, because right now the goal for us is to really be a category and market leader for phone interviewing technology, and there is a real opportunity for us to do that. We do have competitors, both the video folks that I've mentioned, and there's folks that do things with phone and audio as well, but like I mentioned, we're usually the first ones introducing this to our customers, and so we have that opportunity for us to go and achieve that.
Okay. So I think that's solid. Okay. And then so once you did that, you looked at Product Hunt, you realized, hey, there's nothing here. Then how did you kind of take it to the next level and be like, okay, there's a problem. I know it because I lived it and it sucks,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There's nothing out in the marketplace. And then how did you take it to the next
To the
stage
next
in terms
level.
of creating something?
Yeah, so this was still when I was at Viral Launch. I was just like a side project. I talked to actually one of my coworkers. I think he was one of the first people that I brought it to, because he's one of the best developers I know. I was like, how would you go about this? Was during a time when I thought that I was going to learn how to code. So I was like, this might be my project that I learned how to code on. Did not happen. But I talked to him about, how would you get this started? And he gave me some like direction and whatnot. But ultimately, it was really just like getting the ideas out of my head and on paper in different ways. So one, it's like actually like just writing out like what the problem is, like what this is going to solve, and like more details about that. And then also sketching up, literally sketching up what this could look like. And at first it was actually going to be a mobile app first, because I had more of a vision for it to be like a podcast for interviewing. And we still plan on doing that at some point in the future, but so start off with these like low fidelity sketches, eventually some things that like I think it's Envision or Marvel that you can prototype stuff in, but with paper and like some very simple sketches, started like talking with, who I thought could be potential customers and just getting their feedback, and seeing if there was anything there. And so for a while, that's what Devin, my brother, and I were doing, because we're both not technical. We were just trying to get validation in different ways, and get someone to get the belief that we could take to get funding or get other people to believe in it, and start to build it out. And so that was like the first step. And ultimately, we decided that it is something that people have to, in some ways, experience in order to get like true validation around it, because it was unique and a little new. And so that's when we started to talk to who are our co-founders now on the technical side about just getting like a minimum, an MVP to like relay, like what I used to refer to as like closing the loop. Like, can we record audio, send it to somebody, they record it, send it back, and we review it. That's what we wanted to get done. And that's kind of and it just kind of evolved from there.
Excellent, man. Well, it was a pleasure having you on the show, hearing your stories. I think there's a lot of cool things that you've done and persevered, and to be a 2-time founder at the age of, well, I'm sorry, not a 2-time founder. I basically
kind of. I had like a co-founder type role. Yeah.
Yeah. At the age of 31 is amazing. So where can people find about you more, and about Qualifi more, if they want to use it, so they don't have to go through the soul crushing experience of hours and hours and hours of phone interviews?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a special code just for the listeners here today. It's qualifi.info/scaleup. And Qualifi is spelled with an I instead of a Y. So QUALIFI.info/scaleup. And then if you want to find me, pretty easy. Just search my name in LinkedIn. It's probably the easiest place and where I'm most active. Would love to connect with you there.
Excellent. Well, thank you for being on the show, Darrian. And then I'll also have that in the show notes for you, the listeners, so you can check that out. So it was awesome having you on, and look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me.